Well, one of the sectors that's really battled this year is also the early childhood development sector, running creches, care centres for young children, often while their parents go to work. They weren't allowed to operate during the hard lockdown. Then the sector has accused the Social Development Ministry of refusing to pay out subsidies during the second half of the year. Joined now by Professor aretheir, the founding director of the Centre for Early Childhood Development. Professor aretheir, good afternoon to you. There's been a court case over this. Are you receiving your subsidies from government departments in the provinces yet?
Good afternoon, Stephen, and good afternoon to your viewers. Yes, there has been a court case, and we won that court case as well. The sad part is that it's not being implemented. We've heard that in some provinces it is not being paid out, or it's being paid out at 50% level only. And we've also had serious threats made against early childhood development principals. If they keep open and they remain open, they will be in trouble. And the worst is probably one ECD centre principal who reported that a government official tore up their registration certificate.
Why is this happening? I don't understand this. I mean, it seems to me to be a social good. It's good for society to have places that are safe to look after children. You would think government would be behind that.
It's early childhood development certainly is a social good, and it's critical, particularly in terms of the pipeline down through grade 1 up to grade 12. So we really cannot understand it. We can only think that it's an uncaring government that doesn't place priority with young children. The funding is there. This is money which has been allocated in the budget, in the various budget in the provinces. But 8 of the 9 provinces, with the exception of the Western Cape, have either not paid subsidies or they have reduced them. What the minister did in the court case, she made rather selective statements about the numbers of children who have received funding. They were a total distortion of the real facts, and the judge in the High Court denied them the right to appeal. The 8 MECs in the provinces were denied the right to appeal against an earlier ruling that she had made.
I mean, it seems quite bizarre. I mean, has the minister, it's Lindiwe Zulu, has she explained her stance?
No, she has not. You know, what on a positive note, what has happened is that the part of the 1.3 billion rand stimulation package is going to be used to support the salaries of 108,000 ECD teachers. And that amounts to an amount of about 486 million rand. So that's being a positive note. But that's not coming from the department. That's coming from the presidential stimulation package. So we really cannot fathom or work out what she's on about. My personal feeling is that she's getting really bad advice from her departmental officials, and that they have no clue what is happening in the early childhood development sector.
What impact is this then having on centres, on your members? I mean, what's happening to these actual centres? What's happening to the children in them?
Well, we've done 2 rapid surveys on the opening of ECD centres, and only a small proportion, around 20% of ECD centres that were functioning prior to the lockdown are open. And what we are finding is that the uptake in children has dropped radically to anything between 15 and 20%. So the impact is that more than 100,000 adult women who are ECD teachers have not had a salary for 9 months now. And that has a huge impact on their families. In addition, just under 2 million children have not had that early learning opportunity that is so important at that age. And I think we're going to feel this in the years ahead. It's certainly not over. These children are going to enter grade 1 ill-prepared, lacking confidence and lacking competence, and they're not going to be ready for formal schooling. And we think that's a tragedy.
I mean, you would like to think January next year, children are going back to normal school. They'll start in grade 1 and all the way through the system. Do you have any hope that the centres themselves will be reopening, that young children will be going back at the beginning of the year?
Our feedback from the centres that we work with, and at any one point, we work with about 600 centres in the Greater Cape Town area. Our feedback is that only a small percentage will be opening come January the 15th, January the 20th. And that's going to have a huge impact. Those children are going to be left at home. They're going to be in communities which are not safe. They're not going to get that nutritious meal that they often rely on as their only meal or their main meal of the day. And it really is going to have a huge impact down the line when they enter formal schooling and they're not prepared for the rigors of formal school.
I mean, there's more and more evidence now. We spend so much time in South Africa, and so do other countries, talking about matrics, talking about what's happening in matrics, but there's more and more evidence about the importance of early childhood education. I mean, the effects of this could be lifelong.
Stephen, the effects are lifelong. You know, the international research is clear that young children who have the opportunity for quality early childhood development, they perform better academically, they're less likely to get involved in gangs and crime as teenagers, they're more likely to get a job as an adult and be productive. And for young girls, they're less likely to become pregnant whilst a teenager. Now, these are huge social, educational, and economic benefits. So really, we're in for difficult times in the next 5 to 10 years if we don't get it right and we don't start supporting the early childhood sector.
I mean, I would like to think that someone somewhere is going to start making what you would see as the right decisions. I mean, obviously, we're not hearing from the minister at this time, but I mean, I would like to think that there'll be some discussion, negotiation, or court case that sorts this out.
There is. Look, one hope is early childhood development will be transitioning from social development to education over the next few years. And we think, we've got no hard evidence, but we think that it could be a really good move, provided the basic education department takes on the mantle of early childhood development and gives it the due importance that it needs. But it needs leadership from the top. And by the top, I mean from the president. In the countries in the world where you've got the best early childhood development systems, it is the president who's driving it. And Chile is a fantastic example where President Bachelet took personal responsibility for early childhood development, and their system is world class.
Professor Eric Atmore, thank you, founding director of the Centre for Early Childhood Development. Really do appreciate the time there on that story, really important story.